This is podcast number 1 of chapter 9 on the nervous system. And in the first part of chapter 9, which will be 4 different podcasts, we're going to take a look at how the nervous system actually performs its functions. And then in the second half, we'll take a look at some of the major structures like the brain, and that's when we will do our brain dissection. So your nervous system basically has 3 major big jobs. Obviously, it controls your entire body, but it does so in various ways. So its major functions: 1, it's going to collect information, it's going to interpret that information, and then it's going to coordinate a response that is appropriate for whatever is going on. So if it collects information that you're cold, it interprets that you're actually cold, and then it's going to decide what you need to do about it. Okay. Part of being able to do that is maintaining the homeostatic mechanism of the body. So remember, you need to stay in homeostasis, keep everything stable the way it's supposed to be. And so your nervous system is constantly checking and making sure that your system is functioning at its optimum levels. And also your nervous system is going to control all of the involuntary processes of your body. So things that you don't have to think about that happen automatically, like your heartbeat and your breathing and just the whole process of digestion, all the different things that go on in your body on a daily basis are controlled by your nervous system. So the nervous system is divided into 2 main parts. Your central nervous system, or CNS, is made up of your brain and spinal cord, and this is the part that is going to hold the information, kind of coordinates the responses of what's going on, deciding what's going to happen to your body. And then that information is going to be sent out to the peripheral nervous system, and these are all of the different nerves of your body. So they're going to take information in and they're going to send information back out and make you respond to what's going on. So your peripheral nervous system includes 31 pairs of nerves that come off of your spine and 12 pairs of nerves that come off your brain, cranial nerves. And they're in pairs because they will separate off into the right and left sides of your body. Okay, so here is just a graphic of this. So you can see your central nervous system is your brain and your spinal cord. Okay, and then off of there you've got these branching pairs of all the different nerves in your body, and those make up your peripheral nervous system. You also see these things called ganglia, and we will talk about these, but these are groups of nerves that are going to perform a certain function for the body. Now within your peripheral nervous system, there's actually 2 divisions, because some of the things in your body you can control and some things you can't. So the things that are under your control, that means you can think about it and you can make it happen. These things are part of your somatic nervous system. So your skeletal muscles are part of your somatic nervous system. So your peripheral nervous system has nerves that go out to your muscles, and you can make a conscious decision about what you're going to do with those muscles. Your autonomic nervous system is connected to all of your smooth muscles. So these are things that are involuntary. Your glands, things that need to happen automatically in order to keep you in homeostasis, the autonomic nervous system is going to take care of those things for you so that you don't have to think about it. Okay, now basically in order for your job to, your nervous system to do its basic functions, it's got to be able to do these 3 things. It's got to be able to take information in, and that's your sensory input. It's got to be able to integrate that information, which means basically it's got to take that information that came in and make decisions about it. And then it's got to be able to do a motor output. And you hear the word motor, you should think of an action, movement, something being released, something happening. And it's these 3 things that need to happen in your nervous system in order for all the different things that it does to work properly. So we're going to take a look at each of these in turn. Oops. Not sure what happened there. There we go. So your sensory gathers information about things that are going on in or around your body. Okay, so sensory, think of your senses. You're seeing what's going on, you're feeling the cold, you know when you're touching something hot. These are all because of sensory receptors. These are at the ends of your peripheral nerves. They could be pain receptors, they could be thermal receptors. We'll talk about those different kinds of receptors in part B of chapter 9. But they're all going to collect information, and they're going to collect that information and they're going to send it to the central nervous system. So they're going to take all that information in and they're going to send it into either your brain or spinal cord. And so the main neuron that does this is their sensory neuron, and they're designed to send stuff towards your central nervous system. And in podcast 2, we'll talk about the different types of neurons. Integrative. Now, this is the part where all of the information that gets taken in about what's going on around you is brought together. So you're going to take all that stuff that's been going on and you're going to bring it together, interpret it, create sensation. So this is why you feel things. This is why you feel the cold, because your central nervous system takes it in and then gathers that information together and says, this is what it means. Creates thoughts, adds memories, and then this, importantly, is where the decisions are going to be made. What are we going to do about it? We're outside and we're cold. Maybe we should zip up our jacket. That's making a decision based on memory, the fact that you know that you should zip your jacket when you're cold. So the integrative functions occur because of your association neurons or your interneurons. They're the same thing. Okay. And then your motor is the responses to the signal. So you just took in all this information and your central nervous system is going to interpret it, and it's going to send information out to things called effectors. And these would be your muscles or your glands. And whatever is going to happen, the goal is to keep you in homeostasis. That's always the goal. So if you're cold, your central nervous system could send an impulse down to some of your muscles and tell them to start to shiver, and that will warm you up. These impulses get sent down motor neurons. Now, your main cell of your entire body, or your nervous system, is the neuron. And podcast 2 is devoted to the neuron. But there are support cells that are going to help with the whole process of your nervous system working and staying healthy. And these are called neuroglial cells. And there's 5 different types of neuroglial cells. These are your support cells for the neurons. So all of them function to help the neurons to do their jobs the way that they need to. The first of these are the microglial cells. Microglial cells are actually a type of white blood cell, and they are scattered all throughout your nervous tissue, and they're going to get rid of anything that might build up in your nervous system, like bacteria that comes in, remnants of chemicals that you may have ingested through drugs or whatever. Your microglia can help to take care of some of that stuff. Some of those things will also destroy your microglia, and that can be a serious problem. But they're basically the defense system for your nervous system. Okay? Oligodendrocytes. These guys are going to provide insulation to the axons of neurons. So we're going to talk about the structure of a neuron. But basically, around the neuron, you have something called a myelin sheath. And the myelin sheath is these rolls of fat that are all down a neuron. And they provide insulation for the neuron, and it actually allows the neuron to function properly. And oligodendrocytes do most of their work during your childhood years, and they need a high supply of fat in the diet in order to completely make the myelin sheaths. And that's why high fat content is good for young babies. You also have in here things called astrocytes. Astrocytes are going to connect blood vessels over to your neurons, because neurons are cells, so they need nutrients, they need oxygen, they need to get rid of waste products, and so they need to be connected to the blood. So the astrocytes are cells that are going to connect them to the blood and pass all of those things to the neurons and away from the neurons, whatever needs to go where. Okay. You also have things called epidermal cells, okay, and these guys form a membrane that covers things like the brain and the spinal cord. So they actually end up making, it's like almost looks like skin. It's a bunch of boxed up cells all lined up next to each other, and it makes a protective membrane that will cover your brain, spinal cord, some of your nerves, that kind of stuff. Schwann cells are the same as oligodendrocytes, except they are going to be found only in your peripheral nervous system, whereas oligodendrocytes are found only in your central nervous system. But they are also going to form the myelin sheaths, right? And so the myelin sheaths are necessary for the insulation that needs to happen for your cells. Okay. So here's just a visual of what some of these look like. So here's an astrocyte, there's the cell, and this right here is a blood vessel. Okay, so it's connected to the blood vessel, and then on the other end it'll be connected to a nerve cell. And so everything will go through this cell and get over to the neuron that needs it. Here's an oligodendrocyte, so it's connected to these fat pockets here that you see, and those are the myelin sheaths. I spelled that wrong, but it's okay. Myelin sheaths. And that's what these fat pockets are that are going to allow the impulse to go much faster. Here your microglia, they are just scattered about all throughout the material. And then your epidermal cells, like I said, they make this kind of covering, and then they'll connect right down to whatever nervous system structure you're looking at. So here's another picture of this, and I know the word neuron is spelled incorrectly there. That was just part of the picture. But these are some of your major ones, and it kind of gives you a big view of what you're looking at. So here, here's a capillary with your blood, right? So the astrocyte is connected to the capillary and to the neuron. So everything that comes out of the blood goes through the astrocyte and right into the neuron. Here's an oligodendrocyte that is going to be making this myelin sheath that goes around the outside of the axon. They're your microglial cells that are around. Here's your epidermal cells. Again, they are making this barrier for the cavity of the brain and spinal cord. And remember that all is bathed in fluid, cerebral spinal fluid, and so everything is held in like a watertight container within there. So in the next podcast, we're going to take a look specifically at the function of a neuron and the structure of a neuron. So here you have your cell body of the neuron with things called dendrites and an axon that comes down. And we're going to talk about how all of that works together to do the various functions.